Phil Mickelson now has joined it. We know that Dustin Johnson has, Sergio Garcia, Graham McDowell. A lot of different players have decided to join the LIV Tour and walk away from the PGA Tour. One of the big ways that this story is being covered is golfers, including Phil Mickelson especially, are being held accountable for signing on to a Saudi Arabian-backed golf tour. And people are saying, oh my God, how in the world can a golfer work for a Saudi Arabian-funded organization, the LIV Golf Tour? Let me take it outside of golf for a minute. This has been going on in soccer for decades. Saudi Arabian teams, Middle Eastern owners, have come into the English Premier League and other European soccer leagues, bought teams, and given gargantuan contracts to top soccer players to be members of those teams. And no one, to my knowledge, has criticized those soccer players for taking money to play for Saudi Arabian interests. So if this has been going on for 15, 20 years in soccer, why is it suddenly a big story in America that golfers are going to work for Saudi Arabian-owned golf league? I'll tell you. Because the American media is being used by the PGA to argue against a competitive endeavor that they don't want to have to deal with. The PGA is in a battle for top golfers with the LIV Tour, and the LIV Tour is paying players better. And suddenly golfers have free agency. And what's happening here, and I think this is significant, is the sports media is effectively being used to attack the LIV Tour. And any player that's willing to go on the LIV Tour is getting accused of agreeing with Saudi Arabia for everything. But these same media members are either too dumb to recognize what hypocrites they are, or they aren't aware of the larger sports media ecosystem, such that soccer players have been making billions of dollars over the last 15 or 20 years to play for Middle Eastern, Saudi Arabian-owned entities, Saudi Arabia and other countries. So why have those soccer players gotten zero criticism, and the Phil Mickelson, the Greg Normans, the Dustin Johnsons of the world are getting absolutely hammered over their association with Saudi Arabia? I'll tell you. Because the PGA Tour is using all these idiot sports media members to attack the LIV Tour because they have a business value associated with doing so. This becomes even more ridiculous when you consider that Joe Biden himself is just about to travel to Saudi Arabia and beg Saudi Arabian authorities to produce more oil so that the price of a gallon of gas will come down in the United States in advance of the midterms, which theoretically would help Democrats who are dealing with a default massive increase that has occurred on every American in order to be able to drive vehicles. So if we've got a situation where Joe Biden himself is going to bend on a knee in front of Saudi Arabian officials and beg them for help, and if we've been dealing with all of this going on in the world of soccer for 10, 15, 20 years, why all of a sudden is the American sports media going to war with golfers who decide to go on the LIV Tour? The answer is simple: because those golfers are challenging the monopoly that the PGA has, and all of these sports media members are effectively doing they're the lapdogs of the PGA. Let me be clear. As long as you don't lecture me on your politics, I have no problem with any athlete or any American businessman doing whatever they can to make as much money as possible. So, look, if you decide that it makes more sense for you to be on that tour, or if it makes more sense for you to go overseas to work, or whatever it might be, I don't believe you should be held accountable for the decisions that are being made by your boss. Let me give you an example. Dan Snyder has made some questionable decisions. I don't see very many people saying, how in the world could you sign with the Washington Commanders given the choices that you have seen Dan Snyder make? We understand that athletes are mostly capitalists and are going to make decisions that lead to the best possible paydays for most of these people. So why is it that suddenly it's unacceptable to be working with Saudi Arabia? Look, my position on this is pretty straightforward. If Saudi Arabia came to me and they said, hey, Clay, we'd like for you to do your show, your radio show, which is the biggest radio show in the country, from Saudi Arabia for whatever period of time it is, to encourage people to come visit Saudi Arabia, invest money here, and help us to further change our economy so we're not entirely reliant on just oil and gas. Assuming it worked for my schedule, I would travel over to Saudi Arabia and I would do a show there. Wouldn't even think twice about it. Because I don't presume that every single place I go, everybody's going to agree with my politics. Heck, I'm going to be doing my show next week from New York City. And then I'm going to be down in Florida. And certainly there are lots of politicians in New York City who don't have the same political beliefs that I do. So am I somehow endorsing New York City politicians by deciding to do my show there? Of course not. And this is, to me, evidence of an unfair and biased media. And it even goes worse than that, certainly, because the NBA can get away with making billions of dollars off China and even putting a game in the United Arab Emirates where gay people are subject to murder for being gay. And they moved the All-Star game out of Charlotte, North Carolina over a transgender bathroom bill. But nobody even calls him on it in sports media. Now, if the NBA had just come out and said, look, our goal is to take basketball to as many countries as we possibly can, and we understand that every country in the world doesn't have the same beliefs as us, and they had never lectured us on American politics, I wouldn't have any issue with it at all. I don't have any issue with the WWE or the UFC going to whichever country offers the best return for their business. But when you've got these companies that are lecturing us on American woke politics and then turning a blind eye to whatever happens in other countries, I think you deserve to be called out. But I haven't seen Dustin Johnson, Greg Norman, Phil Mickelson, Graham McDowell, any of the guys that have agreed to play on the LIV Tour lecturing us about politics and being holier than thou. And so I think the fact that the media is mostly doing the PGA's dirty work by attacking a big competitor of theirs and trying to attack all of the players that are competing there deserves to be talked about and discussed in a much more significant way than it is right now.